The timestamp on the security camera read 7:43 p.m., November 14th, a Tuesday like any other. The Hendersons' front porch sat bathed in the amber glow of their motion sensor light, casting long shadows across the wooden planks. Inside, through the front window, you could just make out the silhouette of their German shepherd, Atlas, positioned at his usual spot, the bay window overlooking the street. For 3 years, Atlas had stood guard at that window. His ears would swivel like radar dishes at every passing car, every rustling leaf, every neighbor walking their own dog. The Hendersons had adopted him from a shelter when he was 2 years old, already fully grown, already carrying secrets in his amber eyes that no one could quite read. Sarah Henderson often joked that Atlas took his job more seriously than most CEOs. Her husband, Marcus, would add that the dog seemed to operate on a different frequency than other animals, hyper-aware, constantly calculating, as if he'd been trained for something they didn't quite understand. That night, Sarah and Marcus were 20 miles away at a wedding reception, their teenage daughter Emma at a sleepover. Atlas was alone. But he wasn't just watching, he was waiting. And then at 7:47 p.m., everything changed. But what Atlas saw in those 4 minutes would leave investigators speechless. The footage shows a figure emerging from the tree line at the edge of the property, not from the street, from the woods behind the house. This was the first anomaly. The second was the way the person moved, deliberately, carefully, pausing every few steps as if listening for something. Atlas's head snapped toward the back of the house a full 30 seconds before the motion sensors picked up any movement. His body went rigid, that distinctive ridge of fur along his spine rising like a warning flag. But here's what made seasoned detectives rewind the footage again and again. Atlas didn't bark. German shepherds bark, it's instinct, it's territorial behavior, it's what they do. Atlas remained completely silent. Instead, he moved with liquid precision through the house, captured on the interior cameras as he passed from room to room. He went straight to Emma's bedroom, nosed the door open, and grabbed something from her bed, her pink hoodie, the one she wore constantly, the one that smelled most like her. Then he dragged it to the front door and dropped it across the threshold. The stranger was now clearly visible on the back porch camera. Male, approximately 6 feet tall, wearing dark clothing and a baseball cap pulled low. He carried a black duffel bag. His gloved hand tested the back door handle. It was locked. Atlas positioned himself in the center of the living room, perfectly aligned between the back door and the front door. The hoodie remained at the front entrance. And then the dog did something that sent chills through everyone who later watched this footage. He sat down completely calm and waited. The stranger didn't know it yet, but he just made the biggest mistake of his life. For 8 minutes, the intruder worked on the back door. The sound of scraping metal was faint but audible on the audio feed. He was using some kind of tool, methodically working the lock mechanism. Atlas's ears tracked every scrape, every scratch, every breath, but his body language remained eerily composed. His tail wasn't between his legs in fear. His muscles weren't bunched in aggressive preparation. He simply sat, watching the back door with an intensity that seemed almost human in its focus. At 7:56 p.m., the lock gave way. The back door crept open 6 inches, then a foot. The stranger's voice came through, barely a whisper. "Good dog, easy now, I'm not here to hurt anyone." He was talking to Atlas as if he'd expected to find him there. The man pushed the door fully open and stepped inside. He set his duffel bag down carefully, then pulled out a flashlight. The beam swept across the kitchen, landing on family photos on the refrigerator, mail on the counter, the normal debris of life. "Where is it, boy?" the stranger muttered, and that's when the hairs on the back of your neck would stand up if you were watching this in real time. Because this wasn't a random break-in. This person was searching for something specific. He moved toward the hallway, toward the bedrooms. And that's when Atlas finally stood up. Still silent, still controlled. But now he was moving. What happened next defied everything we think we know about protective dogs. The man froze as Atlas appeared in the hallway, blocking his path. Now finally, the dog's teeth were visible, not in a snarl, but in what animal behaviorists would later describe as a warning display. "Easy, Atlas, easy." The stranger knew the dog's name. He reached slowly into his jacket pocket, and what he pulled out wasn't a weapon or a treat. It was a photograph. He held it out, and in the infrared glow of the security camera, you could just make it out. A military unit photo showing a line of soldiers with their K9 partners. "You remember, don't you, boy? Syria, 2019, I was there." Atlas's posture changed in an instant. The ridge of fur flattened. His tail gave one uncertain wag. The stranger, and he seemed less like a stranger now, slowly crouched down, making himself smaller, less threatening. "I'm Sergeant James Riker. I was with the 23rd Infantry when we found you in that collapsed building in Aleppo. You weren't military, but someone had trained you. We never found out who. When the unit was decommissioned, they said you were adopted out stateside. I've been looking for you for 3 years, buddy." He took another step forward. "I named you Atlas because you carried that little girl out of the rubble on your back. You remember her?" Atlas tilted his head, a distinctly canine gesture of confusion mixed with recognition. "Her name was Amira. She's alive because of you. And 3 months ago, she tracked me down through Veterans Services. She wanted me to find you, to thank you." Riker pulled another item from his pocket, a child's drawing carefully preserved in a plastic sleeve, a stick-figure dog with a red collar, a stick-figure girl holding its paw, the words "Thank you, Atlas," written in crayon at the top, in both English and Arabic. But the surveillance footage was about to reveal something that would make headlines around the world. At 8:09 p.m., the front door of the Henderson house burst open. Sarah Henderson stood in the doorway, her phone clutched in her hand, her face pale. Behind her, 2 police officers had their hands on their weapons. The security company had called her when the back door breach was detected. She'd left the wedding reception immediately, called 911, and broken every speed limit getting home. "Atlas!" she screamed. And here's where every single person who watched this footage sat up straighter. Atlas didn't run to Sarah. He positioned himself between Riker and the door, but not in protection of the family, in protection of Riker. The dog looked at Sarah, then back at Riker, then did something extraordinary. He picked up the pink hoodie and carried it to Riker, dropping it at his feet. Sarah was crying now, confused and terrified. "What's happening? Who are you?" The officers moved into the house, ordering Riker to show his hands. But Riker wasn't looking at them. He was looking at the hoodie, his face cycling through confusion, then understanding, then something close to shock. He picked it up and a piece of paper fell out, a note in teenage handwriting. "To whoever finds this, my name is Emma Henderson. If something happens to our family and Atlas brings this to you, it means he trusts you. There are documents hidden in my room about my dad's work. People have been following us. We think we're in danger. Please help. Please protect him if we can't." The timestamp showed Emma had written this note 2 weeks ago. Sarah's knees gave out. "Emma's been having nightmares. She kept saying someone was watching the house. We thought she was just stressed about school, but..." Riker looked up at the officers. "I'm former military. I'm not here to hurt anyone, but this dog..." He gestured to Atlas, who sat calmly between all the humans, his intelligent eyes moving from face to face. "This dog just exposed something you need to investigate." The final twist was still to come. Within 48 hours, the investigation revealed that Marcus Henderson, a forensic accountant, had been collecting evidence about a massive embezzlement scheme at his firm. Someone had been surveilling the family. Emma, perceptive and anxious, had noticed, and she trusted the one family member she knew would protect them no matter what. But Atlas's choice, to not attack Riker, to recognize him, to bring him the hoodie, had been the catalyst that brought everything into the light before anyone could get hurt. The drawing from Amira was real. Riker's story was real. He'd been breaking in not to harm, but to leave something for Atlas, a challenge coin from their unit, a token of respect between soldiers. But Atlas, with an intelligence that defied explanation, had recognized a threat the family couldn't see, and had made a choice in that critical moment to trust someone from his past who might help secure his present. The security footage, initially meant to catch a criminal, instead revealed the extraordinary cognitive capacity of a dog who'd lived through war, saved lives, and somehow understood that the real danger wasn't the man breaking in. It was whatever darkness was circling his family from the outside. Marcus's evidence eventually led to 17 arrests. The family was placed in witness protection temporarily, but later returned home safely. And Riker, he became a regular visitor, welcomed by the Hendersons, bringing with him the full story of Atlas's past. A war dog who'd lost his original handler, who'd rescued a child from rubble, who'd been smuggled to America by sympathetic soldiers who couldn't bear to see him euthanized when the military program ended. The viral footage of that November night has been viewed millions of times. People watch it for different reasons, some for the suspense, some for the mystery, some for the redemptive ending. But if you watch it closely, really closely, you'll see what the experts see. A dog making complex decisions in real time, weighing threats, recognizing allies, protecting those he loved in ways that required not just instinct, but wisdom. Atlas didn't need to be the most aggressive dog or the loudest. He needed to be the smartest, and in the moments that mattered most, he was. The Henderson family now keeps Amira's drawing framed above Atlas's bed. Emma's note still exists, preserved as evidence, but she wrote a new one, this time addressed to Atlas himself, thanking him for being smarter than all of them combined. Because sometimes the monsters aren't at the door. Sometimes the heroes don't bark. And sometimes surveillance footage doesn't just capture crime. It captures the moment a dog saved his family by knowing the difference between a threat and a guardian angel who just happened to break in at exactly the right time. The greatest protection doesn't come from teeth and fury. It comes from love, intelligence, and the unbreakable bond between a family and the dog who chose them. Atlas still sits at that window, still watching, still waiting, still the silent guardian who knows that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay calm when the whole world tells you to rage. And every single day, he proves that rescue doesn't just go one way. Sometimes the dog you save ends up being the one who saves you back.